What up, friends? We are back here on the drive for oddschecker.com/US. I am Geoff Fienberg. That is my guy, Andy Lack. We are going to break down the FedEx St. Jude Championship. It is the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. We're down to 70 already. Normally, we would start with 125 and find our way here. Nope. We start here with 70. We'll see how that affects the betting board. Some interesting options as usual that I get suckered into in the middle. We'll get there in a moment. I'm going to remind you from your good friends at Odds Checker and Golf Monthly, our contest still continues. Your chance to win $10,000. Simply pick the top 5 at this week's FedEx St. Jude Championship. To enter, hit the link in the description of the video, enter the contest. If you've been entering, don't stop entering. If you haven't entered, get in. I mean, I would argue now that we're down to 70 guys, a very hard task becomes like a little easier. And if we're going to run it again next week at 50, just compared to what the ask was before, but don't miss your chance. Win that $10,000. Hit the link in the video description. Andy, take it away, buddy. Tell me about the course. Golf fans should be very familiar with it. We're here all the time.
Yeah, we're back in Memphis. We've been going to this course for, a while now, and this event has kind of gone through a couple of structural changes over the last couple of years. It was a regular PGA Tour event for a while, a lot of Daniel Berger love in those years. Then it switched to a WGC, had some winners like Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, Abraham Ancer as well. And then last year, it became a FedEx Cup event. And kind of the last 5 years since it's been a WGC or FedEx Cup playoff event, it's been pretty class winners. I mean, you've got Brooks, DJ, JT, Abraham Ancer, Zalatoris. Ancer at 50-1 being really the only kind of mid-tier, quote unquote, player. Even Zalatoris last year was coming in great form. He was 25-1 as well. The JT year, he was 12. DJ was 7, I believe. Brooks was 11. So this is absolutely a spot where it separates kind of mid-tier to great tee to green play. And usually the best ball strikers are able to rise to the top.
Yeah, so no secrets there, as you pointed out to many golf fans. And FedEx Cup playoffs as a whole, Andy, they haven't really rewarded the back end of the field. That being said, going back to Kitayama, to Keegan, to Wyndham at a U.S. Open, Harmon at an Open Championship, the glove last week flirting with 90. Man, the bombs have been coming in. They've been going right over my head too. But the bombs certainly have been coming in. We saw it change into a couple majors this year, surprising to many, including myself. Do you really see that happening here?
I don't know if I see it happening here in the sense that we're looking at a true bomb in this class of a field, but I will say that I have, for better or worse, how justified this is or not, I would say that I'm feeling a bit less worried than I have been in previous weeks about the very, very top of the Schefflers, the Rahms, the Rorys. It does feel a little bit more attainable for guys in that middle tier, even in a great field, to come through. And that's kind of the way that I ended up structuring my betting card this week, is just 4 guys between 25 and 45. Oh. So I guess I'll ask you too, like, how are we underestimating Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory right now because they haven't pulled the rug out from under us in a couple of weeks now? Are we almost due for that, does it feel like? Or should we feel comfortable firing away with our Hattons, Fleetwood, Spieths, and Morikawas?
Okay, well, you're sort of reading my mail in the sense that I don't know if our guys are the same, but we're attacking the same part of the odds board. And I know someone like you who, and a lot of, people, they don't bet for fun. There's no narrative street in any of their bets. You use a word like, are they due? I am very much scared. Yes, the top of the board is very due because they've run dry almost too long. Yes, Rory won in Scotland. I'm sure that was super short priced. Finau was like near the very chalk in Mexico. Rahm at the Masters, Scotty at the Players. But it's really been a year where very few of these top guys have hit. So I'm scared they are certainly due. I mean, maybe you can make a case that Rahm being priced third was strong at the Open. He had his lull post Masters. Maybe he's ready. I made another point this week, Andy, already. Players complained a lot this year that they were playing a lot of golf condensed. We don't need to feel bad for them, but certain cries of a bit of fatigue. Mostly none of them have played since the Open Championship. So I think we're going to get a fresh look at a lot of fresh golfers is what I'm meaning to say. I've skipped the top. If you've got a case to make about any of them, go for it. It feels right. They feel due. Where does your card begin?
I've skipped it too, but I'm curious before we move on, because I think we're both going to want to spend a lot more time in the next section. But of the three, who's the best bet for you of Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory?
People who are familiar with my content, like normally anytime I'm forced to make this decision, by default, I say Jon Rahm.
I'm with you. Rahm scares me the most of those three this week. And maybe that's a conversation better for DraftKings, because I think that's probably where I'm going in that, sense of it. But 9-1, I think, is probably the best number that you can find on him. I'm happily skipping that as well. And even, God, Geoff, I got to ask you, and I know that we have defended this guy at times and have probably bet him far more than we should have in the past. But what is Cantlay still doing at 14-1?
Yeah, 14 at DraftKings, seeing it as high as 16. I don't know. If I had to make the case to somebody, be like, oh, he's like a FedEx Cup playoff animal. Usually comes to life during it.
Yeah,
but I don't feel
on the bent grass, BMW courses. He's been way worse on Bermuda.
I don't have a case. Honestly, my eyes, and this is a guy, like you said, I've kind of been suckered into it too often. My eyes went right through him this week.
Me too.
Right through him.
Same
That'll
was
probably have me paying the price. Xander, I could be more interested in, but I don't know. At this point, I feel just as comfortable with the guys in the next tier. So I'm not usually a value hunter, but people seem to be making that joke with me these days. I've been coming up short regardless.
So this next tier, because I'm right there with you too. Hatton 25. Has there been a better player this season without a win? I would make the case no. Maybe you could throw Cantlay and Xander in that direction, but statistically, Hatton has been right on par with both of those guys. We've always known that Hatton's been a great approach player and a great putter. He's the best Bermuda putter in this field over the last 2 years. He's turned into such an accurate, strong driver of the ball as well. Hatton has gained strokes ball striking in 21 straight starts. He's literally turned into a top 10 ball striker in the world. And of these great players that we talk about, he's probably got the most reliable putter. So Hatton's where I started my card this week. He hasn't been cashing outright tickets for anybody, but I feel like you're going to be hard pressed to find a better spot for Tyrrell Hatton than right here on a Bermuda golf course that emphasizes elite ball striking, elite tee to green play, elite total driving, elite mid-iron play. Hatton's my guy this week at the top. And then, there are a bunch of other guys in this range, but I'll start with Hatton and get your thoughts there.
Yeah, I love Hatton. Like you said, I've already, spent time today waxing poetic about all those things in a year where so many great players have not found winner's circle. He might not have the name value of some of the other bigger ones, but his form has been better than all of them from start to finish. Part of me feels like maybe picking Hatton, you're trying to get cocky. But there were 18s this morning that have been replaced by 25s. And looking at that odds checker grid, that's exactly what I see. I would feel comfortable in that range with Tyrrell Hatton. But there's a slew of players, starting with Hatton, Colin Morikawa, going into that next level, Sam Burns. I got to admit, I got sucked into a Sam Burns 45 and a Cam Young 50 this morning. Yeah. Maybe those were risky bets, but I feel those were bets I was willing to take a swing at. Cam Young, I'm not trying, like, the number feels fair enough where I'm not trying to be too cocky to call it. I totally write off his 3M post-Open Championship. Like, that's a total, I do not care that he missed that cut. Everything else for me says he could be ready for obviously an ultimate peak moment, but back to sort of that form. And I trust Sam Burns so much, Andy. And in this field and what's asked here and the Bermuda factor, and Ben, I trust him again.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on Cam Young. I was a bit more lackadaisical waking up this morning on the West Coast and missed the 50s, but still happy to ride with a 45-1. I'm far more statistical than narrative based, as you mentioned earlier, but it's hard to ignore the symmetry of Zalatoris entering this week last year as the best player in the world by a healthy margin, who has not found the winner's circle yet on the PGA Tour. Cam Young, in my opinion, undeniably has that belt right now. I mean, this is a guy that in the last 2 years has contended in 4 or 5 of the last 8 majors, right? And so I do think this is a golf course that really rewards total driving. Cam Young's a really underrated middle to short iron player as well. I got to ask you too, because I'm kind of I really love Jordan Spieth this week. I don't know what your thoughts are on him. And then did you see the catnip for guys like us on Tommy Fleetwood heading out to Vegas to visit Butch? Because I'm kind of deciding between Spieth and Fleetwood for my final 2 spots. And it's just the theme with me this week because I'm on Morikawa as well. But these lovable losers that we know are great players, your Hattons, your Morikawas, your Spieths, your Fleetwoods, your Cam Youngs, that seem to do just about every single thing you want except be the last man standing on Sunday.
Yeah, so that was a lot there, but I'm swimming around Tommy and Morikawa as well. Less interested in Spieth, but it like sort of since the U.S. Open, it's been a tough run for me, and I need to go back to my lovable losers. If I'm going down, Andy, I'm going down with my lovable losers. Yeah, so any one of those guys. But again, there are too many options in this range that I feel even if I wanted to play the top, I feel like I am priced out. But it is sort of like 25 to 50 has all my money, and then there's a guy I can't resist behind it, and we'll get to it in a moment.
Yeah, I guess as we move a little bit farther down, I mean, I'm done. I'm capped out at my 4 with Hatton, Young, either Spieth or Fleetwood, and Morikawa. That's my 4 that
I
I'm
like
riding
it. I like
between
it. Yeah.
between 25 and 45. But there's some interesting names. Like anytime Hideki, I know he let down a ton of people last week. He still hit the ball really well, lost like 5 strokes around the green. Anytime Hideki starts drifting past 50, this is a golf course that he's lost in a playoff before. I have some interest in. A guy like Corey Connors, for all intents and purposes, should be really good on this golf course from a fit perspective. His course history to me here is a bit surprising because in theory, this should be a spot that suits his game really well. But yeah, your Hideki's, Tom Kim is probably a valuable look here. It never really seemed like he was actually hurt at the Open Championship to begin with. So if you can capitalize on some form of a discount on the idea that people think he's hurt this week, maybe that's a direction you could go. But any other names you want to throw out here once we get past 50?
No, you mentioned my one name, and I'm happy you mentioned him because when I mention him, like someone in the comments be like, "Oh, there's Fienberg talking about Corey Connors again." But yeah, the course fit, I think, will work itself out. He's just too good of a fit here. Like it just makes too much sense. The outright win always feels like a bit of an ask, but as I joke with Corey Connors to any Arrested Development fans, he is the banana stand. Like there is always money in Corey Connors, whether you play that into DFS or you take a placings off the 75-1 I'm seeing on the odds checker grid at the moment that comes in as low as 55. So yeah, I can't resist Corey. Hopefully I got a little bit left for him, Andy, but I've been burned. Like wasn't on Harmon, wasn't on Wyndham. Not to say would have had winners anyway, because it wasn't on second place either. But I pretty much stopped the count at 25 bodies here. And maybe I'll get got again, as I have a few times this year, but I'm not pivoting right now at a FedEx Cup playoff event. I'm not pivoting off that.
I'm with you. I mean, I guess if there's like 1 or 2 guys that I had to mention farther down the board, I think Keith Mitchell can play well here. I think Griot's playing some excellent golf right now. Cam Davis is always a guy who has my attention. He's a guy who's got top 6 finishes at both the Players and Oak Hill this year. But I'm with you. I think we get our winner in the 20 to 50 range this week, and I'm pretty comfortable riding into the sunset with my 4-pack this week.
So you've got Hatton, Colin. You've got a decision to make between Tommy and Spieth, and you've bet Cam Young. I have bet Cam Young. I have bet Sam Burns. I have got a decision to make. Colin, Tommy, all those guys. I'm enjoying. So I will be playing from that exact same tier as you. And even Cam Davis would be, if I was forced to pick another guy at the back, it would be Cam Davis, because his ceiling I'm an absolute sucker for. So we're kind of seeing this thing the same way. If it lands in our pocket, I think one of us will be hitting winner circle. For Andy Lack, I am Geoff Fienberg. Don't forget, enter the contest, win $10,000 from Odds Checker. The link is in the video description below. Get in it. It's only a 70-man field this week. Makes your job a little bit easier. Don't miss your chance. We'll be back next week for the next leg of the FedEx Cup.